welcome you tuned into Market Cafe. You're on ET now with me, Lisa Fernandez. And I also have my co-anchor with me, Ankita Saxena. And in the course of the next 1 hour, we take you through all the news that will be in focus, both international as well as the domestic. So starting with the international, Ankita, tell us what happened overnight in the international front.
So good morning to you, Lisa, and good morning to everyone. Now, yesterday the US markets were pretty flat, ended the day in the green, but very flat because it was also shortened trading session because on account of 4th of July. So yesterday the stocks rose slightly in a shortened session that kicked off the second half of what's already been a stellar year on the Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average added 10 points, the S&P 500 climbed 0.1%, while the Nasdaq Composite advanced 0.2% in trade. And the US markets closed early ahead of the 4th of July holiday. They will also be closed as of today. So remember that shortened Monday for US markets as well as a market close as of today. But Tesla shares jumped 6.9% after the electric vehicle maker reported delivery and production numbers that beat the analysts' expectations. Let's look at what the European markets were up to. European markets closed slightly lower on Monday, shortly after ending the first half of the year 8.8% higher. The Pan-European Stock 600 ended the day down 0.2% with sectors mixed after a choppy session. Healthcare stocks were down 2% as AstraZeneca shares fell almost 8% after the preliminary results, from a lung cancer treatment trial that fell short of the analyst expectations. So that really pulled down the Stock 600. Now, the DAX market, the Germany market, DAX was down 0.4%, FTSE was down 0.06%, very flat but in the red, and CSE was down 0.1% in trade. Some mixed global cues coming in there. US markets in the green, but European markets ended the day in the red, Lisa.
Well, yes. Now coming to the crude check. So the crude prices, after seeing some losses day before, it saw some gains, and that was on the back of Russia and Saudi Arabia. They are the top exporters. They announced voluntary cut, while Russia will be reducing 5 lakh. They have announced a cut in oil exports by 5 lakh barrels per day in August. Saudi Arabia said that they will be extending its voluntary cut of 1 million barrels per day. So we see the oil prices, it's up. WTI crude oil, it's at around $70 per barrel, while Brent crude oil, it's at around $74.8 per barrel.
All right, that is the big news coming in there. Russia has announced a cut in oil exports by 5 lakh barrels per day in August. Now, Brent crude oil gained, like Lisa mentioned, 1.5%, and it is currently trading at $76 a barrel after the Russian announcement, of course. And earlier, Saudi Arabia, had said that it would be extending its voluntary output cut of 1 million barrels per barrel to August. Now, both Moscow and Riyadh are trying to prop up oil prices. We also have a guest on this. Listen in to Victor Katona, who's the lead crude analyst, weigh in on this news.
These announcements of, 1 million barrel per day of a production cut extended into August, this should be a big story. Effectively no reaction whatsoever. Russia announces that it's going to cut the exports by 500,000 barrels, no reaction whatsoever. So ultimately we live in a market where, restricted supply is no longer important because people are leaving the oil market. People don't want to take bets. If the actual beast that they're dealing with is so huge and might become so horrendous that effectively they're just afraid to invest into oil, and this is the ultimate consequence. Great announcement, huge, massive market signal, ultimately smitten away as if it were unimportant, but it is.
And staying with the topic, External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar also had a comment on Russia's trade with India and how it's helping keeping the oil prices in check. Listen in.
Basic point is Russia till last year, their main economic partner were Western countries. After this Ukraine conflict, वो रास्ता उनके लिए बंद हो गया. So mostly what is Russia doing? Russia is turning more and more towards Asia. towards other parts, towards Africa, etc., but mostly Asia, because Asia is very big. So if you see our own trade, our trade before the Ukraine conflict every year about 12, 13, 14 billion dollars. Our trade last year was $40 billion. So what will happen is that you will see the Asian economies becoming more the partners, and obviously, because China is the biggest Asian economy, it will show up out there. But I think we should not, worry too much about what they are doing with other countries. We should keep our own relationship with Russia going and see how the interests of the Indian people is best served.
Big news coming in there for oil. But we'll move on and we'll take you through all the events that we will be tracking very closely. Today, of course, the US markets, as I mentioned, will be shut. They were truncated yesterday also. The trading session was truncated, and the markets will be shut as of today. Back home, we have the annual general meeting for Tata Electronics, and in corporate action, we have Kansai Nerolac that will be trading ex bonus, and it is also the last date to buy Emphasis to be eligible for the dividend. And we have Genesis Power that will be holding a board meeting to consider fundraising plans. Also in the IPO action, we have HMA Agro Industries that will be listing on the bourses. Senco Gold will open for subscription, and the PKH Ventures is going to close its subscription as of today. And in the other events, we have the SCO Summit that will take place today. We also have Kia Seltos that will be launching its facelift model, and the DGCA will be conducting a special audit for the Go First facilities as of today. So these are the events that we will be tracking very closely, Lisa.
Well, also let's look at some economic data coming in from US. The factory activity contracted for the straight 8th month in June, and it slipped to the weakest level in more than 3 years as production, employment and input prices retreated. But the price pressures at the factory gate continue to deflate, which proves a silver lining for the country's economy. Meanwhile, the shrinking activity has left the factories resorting to layoffs.
And shifting focus to China, where it has announced export controls on 2 rare metals essential for the manufacturing of semiconductors over security concerns. This comes after Beijing and Washington tussle over the global market for chips. It is known that exports of gallium and germanium, which are majorly produced metals by China, will require a license from August.
And after robust deliveries from Tesla, its Chinese rival XPeng also reported a big jump in its June deliveries. The company delivered over 23,000 cars in the second quarter of 2023, logging a 27% Q-on-Q rise. Now, this surpassed the company's own delivery forecast of between 21,000 and 22,000 units, which was still lower than the figure delivered in the second quarter of last year.
And Twitter witnessed a massive outrage after Elon Musk announced a new reading limit for the platform for new non-verified and verified paid users from accessing a limited number of tweets per day. Due to the new policy, Twitterati started to migrate to similar platforms like Blue Sky, which witnessed all-time high traffic, and the platform temporarily stopped the sign-up process to resolve the issue.
Protest and demonstration in France have entered 7th day. The protesters have reportedly rammed a car into the home of the mayor of a town after a 17-year-old was shot dead by the police. The incident has reignited debate over the policing in marginalized communities. We explain what is going on in the country.
Let's talk about France. France is a country on the edge. For the 6th consecutive day now, protests, arson, they've continued to rage across several cities in the country. Those protests were triggered by the death of a teenager who was shot by the police at point-blank range. And those flare-ups we've seen, they refuse to die down in France. In the latest, rioters have attacked a mayor's house, even as cities like Marseille and Lyon and Nice and Strasbourg and several others remain tense after those clashes with police. In the capital of the country, in Paris, police have arrested around 194 people. Over 3,000 people have been detained across France in a bid to rein in riots and arson across the country. And for the second consecutive day, buses and trams in the capital will remain out of service after 9 o'clock in the evening local time. At the heart of these current protests in France is the fatal police shooting of a 17-year-old teenager named Nahel in suburban Paris. And reports say that the teenager was apprehended by the French police for driving a car without a license. The police asked Nahel and the two passengers who were accompanying him to stop the vehicle at a traffic light. But the driver didn't stop. He ran through the red light, after which a policeman shot at Nahel, resulting in his death, which has caused this massive flare-up. The fatal police shooting has put the spotlight on this controversial 2017 law that regulates gun use by the French police. This 2017 law had been adopted after a series of extremist attacks, including the infamous Charlie Hebdo attack. The law allows police officers in France to shoot at a vehicle when a driver fails to comply with an order and when it is likely to endanger the lives of others. Before that law was introduced, police officers had to prove self-defense to justify gun usage. Studies in the recent past indicate that there is a correlation between a change in law in 2017 and the rise in fatal police shootings. According to a research by Sébastien Rocher, Paul Lederf and Simon Varenne, the police shooting in France has surged by 25% since the adoption of this 2017 law. And only last year, 13 people had been killed in police shootings after failing to comply with orders during these traffic stops. So this year, 3 people, and that includes Nahel, they've died in similar circumstances. And it raises several questions on the trigger-happy nature of the police in France. Across the world, there are 19 countries.
Well, it is that time of the show where we toss to the impaired segment. So let's go across and listen into the news for the hearing impaired. Welcome back. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Ankita Saxena, and with me is my co-anchor, Lisa Fernandez. Let's quickly go across and check how the Asian markets have opened up. Well, Asian markets are largely in the red ahead of Australia's rate decision that is due today. And if you look at the ASX 200, it's absolutely flat, just up 2 points, very, very flat, followed by Nikkei. Nikkei has basically eased off the gains that it saw on Monday. Now, in Japan, Nikkei, it has retreated actually from a 33-year high that was recorded on Monday, and it is down 1% right now. And let's go across to other markets. We have Kospi that is down 0.1%, just 6 points, very flat in the red. We also have Hang Seng, which is down 0.1%. Hang Seng has actually inched up in the green right now. It started the day with cuts and has now inched up, is up 51 points as of now. And let's move on to Shanghai right now. Shanghai is also up, very flat, up 0.01%. So absolutely flat, mixed there, but largely the markets are mixed right now, but very, very flat as of now. Even the GIFT Nifty is just down 5 points, absolutely flat, hinting towards a rather muted start for the Indian markets, Lisa.
Well, let's see what else is making news. Global handset maker Motorola aims to be among the top 3 smartphone brands in India, and the company has doubled its India business last year, and that was with the launch of its Razr 40 and Ultra series. The phones that's in India, and the company aims to compete with South Korean as well as Chinese handset makers. Motorola's global president Sergio Buniac and Prashant Mani, who is the executive director of Asia Pacific Motorola, spoke to ET Now about the global handset space as well as their India plans. Well, here's an excerpt of the same.
Just last year, like what Sergio was saying, we have seen calendar year Q1 our sellouts doubling. We saw a 57% premium to market when the industry was declining at minus 14%. We believe our fundamentals are in place in India, which is make for India. 100% of the products are made in India. Then we will also continue to develop products like I mentioned in Make for India, which are required from an Indian consumer point of view. An example of that is the G62. We launched it with the 695 chipset in India, whereas the rest of the world had a different chipset. So we will continue to have such made for India products. We will also continue to invest in India at retail. Largely we've been online, but now we will start our expansion in the offline space too. So we believe that. With all these initiatives, we are well poised to continue the momentum which we had last year and have a double sellout in this year too.
One example is like in offline, we are growing by 10x our presence in point of sales. In 5G, we were just awarded a very important award of the best 5G devices. We have complete bands, speed. So there is a lot of things we are doing to grow our market share.
So it's not just the overall volume doubling year on year in calendar year Q1. We see our edge portfolio, which is price points 20,000 and above, doubling in sellout. 5G was 8x. So with 5G growth, we saw an 8x growth. And like Sergio was mentioning, the good thing is that we are differentiated as 5G. We are one of the best. We have been recognized as India's best 5G brand.
And moving on then, American motorcycle major Harley Davidson has launched its most affordable bike X440, which has been jointly developed with Indian two-wheeler major Hero MotoCorp. The bike will be currently sold through Harley Davidson's showrooms and select showrooms of Hero Moto. Hero Moto will later develop and sell these bikes under its own brand. To know more about Hero Harley's joint plans for India, ET Now's Sumit Chaturvedi caught up with Hero MotoCorp's executive chairman Pawan Munjal and Joshin Zeitz, who's the CEO of Harley Davidson. Let's listen in.
A very, very exciting day for us, very exciting times for the Indian consumers that Hero is bringing the Harley Davidson X440 to the market now. I'm sure there are a lot of customers who were wanting Harley Davidson bikes, but Harley Davidson bikes in that segment were out of their reach. Now, as you said, we are bringing a bike which will be in their reach, and we will be able to provide them the bike of their dreams. An iconic brand, an iconic global brand, Harley Davidson, brought to our consumers in India by Hero.
To you, Dr. Zeiss, Harley Davidson is an iconic brand. What does it mean for the millions of customers who have bought already, who are going to buy Harley Davidsons already? What does this bike mean for you? Will there be any sort of compromise, or will there be any bringing down on features? What does it mean for you when it comes to your mind, the 440X?
No, it's a fantastic bike. As Dr. Munjal said, we started this collaboration in 2020. I was looking for a new formula, a successful formula for Harley Davidson in India, and this collaboration is now the result of our early talks in 2020. It's a bike that has a look, sound and feel of Harley Davidson, which is why our designers, our engineers from Milwaukee were collaborating very closely to make sure that this is a true Harley. It feels like a Harley, it sounds like a Harley, and it looks like a Harley Davidson in that particular segment of 440, which is a premium segment. It is competitive, but we believe we have a highly competitive bike that will be very successful in the market. Therefore, it's as part of our hardwire strategy, one of the key components of selectively expanding into new categories that I think will be very successful.
But this segment has a very competitive market. Royal Enfield is there, Bajaj Triumph, TVS, BMW. Now you've come into this market. What do you say about numbers, or maybe the competition that is very, very intense in this segment?
I love competition. I love when there are large number of players in the same segment where all of us are trying to then bring out the best in ourselves, in our products, in our services, in our marketing. And I'm sure together with the Harley, both of us will definitely get the desired numbers that we want and the desired market share and give more than delight to our customers.
And to you, Dr. Zahis, like overall, components, will they be sourced from India? How will you source the components? Or what is the global scheme of things as far as it goes from here to taking it to the world? Have you chalked out a plan so far, or right now you'll keep on focusing on Indian market?
Focus is on manufacturing this bike for the Indian market. It's a huge market. The segment is growing very fast, and we want to take a sizable chunk of that market. Harley Davidson is one of the most recognized brands in the world. It's not just a motorcycle, it's a lifestyle. And bringing that to a broader audience and fans in India, I think is a huge opportunity.
And one question to you about duty. Duty has always been something that's talked about between governments and the manufacturers. What about the duty, import duties and the duties that are put on the bikes and two-wheelers in India?
Well, I mean, we built this bike in India, so there's no duty for the bike being built here. Obviously, we would prefer to sell our international bikes without duty in India, but that's for the politicians to figure out.
And well, it is time for us to slip into a short break. You don't go anywhere. We'll take you through a lineup on what's lined up for the market. At 9:20 a.m., we have Pratik Agarwal, who is the Executive Director of Business and Investment Strategy at Motilal Oswal AMC on his account of the street. At 9:30 a.m., we have V. Vaidyanathan of IDFC First on the merger roadmap ahead for the bank. At 9:45 a.m., we have Sunil Duggal of Dabur and Arvind Singhal of Technopark Advisors on the demand trends. At 10:10 a.m., we have Ramani Dhati of Team Lease Services on the hiring trends for the company. And at 10:20 a.m., we have Vineet Kumar Tiwari of Star Cement and Sandeep Ghosh of Birla Corporation Limited on the raw material price moderation and the dip in demand during the monsoons.
Welcome back. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Lisa Fernandez, and my co-anchor, Ankita Saxena. So let's look at what's happening on the domestic front. Reliance Jio has announced the launch of the Jio Bharat phone, and the beta trial for the first 1 million Jio Bharat phones will begin from July 7th. Let's look at the specifications and how it may affect the telco market. Somit is here with all details. Somit, tell us more.
Well, if you say Reliance Jio will be launching the Jio Bharat phone, which is priced at around 999 rupees, and the recharge plan starts at around 123 rupees per month. Now, this offers unlimited voice and 14 GB of data per month. Now, the beta trial for the same is expected to start on July 7th, and this will start across 6,500 Teslas for the first 1 million, that is 10 lakh users. Now, compared to Airtel and Vodafone Idea, the Jio plan offers 7x more data and is 31% cheap, but compared to the existing Jio phone plans, if you see, the prices are 35% higher and offers only 5x more data. Now, why the need for this launch from Jio? Now, many Jio phone users in the previous cycle are likely nearing the last range of that device cycle, and hence Jio is using this new phone as a retention strategy for its existing Jio phone users. Also, Jio is looking to tap the 25 crore 2G users in India. Now, Bharti Airtel has around 11 crore 2G users in India, which is nearly 33% of their subscriber base and contribute 20% to the top line, while Vodafone Idea has close to 10 crore 2G users on its network, which is nearly 46% of its subscriber base and contribute nearly 26% to the top line. Now, what does it mean for the sector? Well, it's clearly negative for the sector because it's against the consensus view of tariff increase and receding competition. Now, this new launch of Jio Bharat shows that the competitive intensity in the sector continues to remain high, and this move also indicates that Jio continues to remain aggressive when it comes to increasing its user base. Now, Airtel and Vodafone Idea in the last financial year had increased the minimum recharge plans, and given the fact that now these new plans have been introduced by Jio, they might have to actually roll back the minimum recharge plans that they had introduced in the last financial year. Now, according to analysts, if 40% of Airtel and Vodafone Idea 2G users move to Jio, then the revenue impact on Airtel and Vodafone Idea could be around 8 to 11%, while the impact on mobile business EBITDA could be around 11 to 19%. Now, what to watch out for going forward? Now, one needs to watch out for whether Airtel and Vodafone Idea, how they react to this new Jio phone plans, how is the subscriber churn on Airtel and Vodafone Idea level. Now, past instances have indicated that the impact on Airtel has been lower and the impact on Vodafone Idea has been much more, and if Vodafone Idea's churn is much higher, then we could see a collateral damage coming in for Indus Towers also. Now, few clarifications when it comes to the Jio Bharat phone. Now, this phone has low memory and standard OS operating and doesn't have WhatsApp, YouTube and Facebook. Also, subscribers can stream video and audio only through Jio Saavn and Jio Cinema. Also, they will be able to watch IPL on this phone next year. Now, the company has also partnered with other vendors like Carbon, and they are saying that they are recovering the entire handset cost and there is no subsidy given on this phone. And lastly, the price is discounted to Jio phone due to limited application in Jio Bharat, and they are targeting mainly the voice and music users at a reasonable price through the launch of Jio Bharat phone.
Right, thank you so much for those details, Sumit. Then moving on, then Hindujas are preparing for increasing stake in IndusInd Bank. The bank's promoters IIHL has approved raising $1.5 billion. Let's go across to my colleague Ankur Mishra, who's there with all the details.
IndusInd Bank promoter holding company IIHL has approved the fundraising of $1.5 billion. Now, interestingly, there has been two objectives which has been specified in the statement which has been released by IIHL. They have said that they want to increase the stake in the bank from current 15% to 26%, and also fund the acquisition of Reliance Capital. Now, as far as increasing the stake from 15 to 26% is concerned, this is subject to RBI approval of fit and proper criteria. Remember, ET Now had earlier reported that the Reserve Bank of India is likely to give approval for increasing the stake to Hindujas very soon, and after that now this fundraise has come. Apart from that, Reliance Capital acquisition is also something which Hindujas are looking forward for, and they have also mentioned that the listing of the company is likely to happen within the 1 year.
Well, the government has called off the strategic sale of Pawan Hans, the national helicopter carrier of India, and the move is coming after disqualifying successful bidding consortium Star 9 Mobility Private, and that is over pending legal cases. Now, remember that in May, the sale process was put on hold. After these cases, it came into the picture. Prakash Priyadarshi is here for some more updates on the same.
So the government has decided to call off a strategic disinvestment of Pawan Hans Limited as a successful bidding consortium. Star 9 Mobility Private Limited was disqualified due to pending legal cases against consortium member. Deepam has come out with the details saying current EY process will be called off due to pending legal cases against consortium member. This decision has been taken after examination of adverse orders of NCLT and NCLT against consortium member. As you are aware that the Pawan Hans Limited is a joint venture company between government and ONGC, and the government had in last year decided to sell Pawan Hans Limited for rupees 211 crore to Star 9 Mobility Limited, a consortium of a big charter private limited, Maharaja Aviation Private Limited, and Almost Global Opportunity Fund SPC. But in May, this process was put on hold after it came to light that the member of consortium, that is Almost Global Opportunity Fund SPC, has pending legal cases against it at NCLT. After proper consideration of the response that was submitted by a consortium on show cause notices, and after approval of alternative mechanism on disinvestment, government has now decided to disqualify successful bidding consortium. Subsequently, the current EY process for disinvestment of Pawan Hans Limited stands annulled.
And it's time for us to step into a short break. You don't go anywhere. After the break, we go stock specific. Welcome back. You're watching Market Cafe. Now, Bajaj Finance has come with its Q1 updates, and the company is clocking in the highest ever quarterly AUM and customer franchise growth. They have seen a robust year-on-year and quarter-on-quarter growth in new loans as well. My colleague Vamakshi is here with all those Q1 highlights. Take it away, Vamakshi.
Well, yes, it looks like a strong set of numbers that have actually come in from Bajaj Finance as far as the Q1 operational update is concerned. Now, the company, like you rightly pointed, has reported the highest ever quarterly AUM as well as customer franchise increase. Now remember, the AUM growth, long-term guidance they had given of between the range of 25% to 27%, and in fact the guidance for FY24 was around 28 to 29% growth. But in the first quarter itself, the AUM has grown by almost 32% on a year-on-year basis, and the AUM currently stands at around 2.7 lakh crores, which is both ahead of its long-term as well as FY24 guidance. And not just that, with the company also reported a robust year-on-year as well as sequential growth as far as new loans are concerned. New loans stand at 9.94 million, which is an uptick of almost 34% on a year-on-year basis and 31% sequentially. And not just that, the customer franchise addition was also quite healthy. Customer franchise now stands at around 7.2 crores, which is an uptick of almost 21% on a year-on-year basis and 6% sequentially. Not just that, we also have a note coming in from Bank of America on Bajaj Finance, and they highlighted that this is a very strong start as far as FY24 is concerned. They also believe that the company is on track to beat its upper end of its 11 to 12 million customer acquisition guidance comfortably, and they also continue to like Bajaj Finance on its industry-leading profitable growth. Given all these factors, Bank of America has maintained a buy and also hiked their target price from 8,130 to 8,700 per share. So all in all, it's looking like a strong set of a strong update from Bajaj Finance.
And the much anticipated IDFC as well as the IDFC Bank merger has been approved by the board. The bank has said that the share exchange ratio for the amalgamation will be 155 equity shares of IDFC First Bank for every 100 equity shares of IDFC. Harsh is joining in. Harsh, tell us more about the merger details.
Well, yes, Lisa, absolutely. Good morning. Second big merger coming in for Indian financial institutions after that HDFC merger, now very close to completion. We now have IDFC First, or rather IDFC Limited merging into IDFC First Bank. And as you correctly mentioned, the merger ratio is 155:1, which is that you get 155:100, which is that for every 100 shares of IDFC Limited, shareholders are warranted to receive 155 shares of IDFC First Bank. That will imply an upside of 15% straight off the bat. Of course, this merger has taken some time to unwind because there was a mutual fund business which IDFC Limited exited in April of 2022, 4,500 crores garnered from there. Around 1,750 odd crore was of that amount was spent on dividend distributed in February of this year. And we also had a 2,200 crore fund infusion by IDFC Limited, therefore consolidating its shareholding in IDFC First Bank to around 40%. So on the back of that, couple of levers there for IDFC Limited shareholders, of course, some amount of value being created there. Where IDFC First Bank is concerned, around 5% is what its book value will go up by as a result of this merger. So that there's some benefit accruing to IDFC First Bank shareholders as well. But of course, around a year or so around in this financial year, the merger should be completed. NCLT as well as RBI approval, among others, required for the merger to actually get finalized and go through.
Sure, thank you so much for that. Moving on from banking to pharma, Biocon Biologics has launched a biosimilar version of the blockbuster rheumatoid arthritis drug Humira in the United States. Now, Biocon Biologics said that Hulio would be available at a list price of 5% below Humira's listing price. Now, the biosimilar would also be available under another plan at a list price of about 85% below that of Humira. However, Nuvama says that they don't see an upside to Biocon's estimates with this new launch. Meanwhile, Coherus Biosciences will launch this drug at an 85% discount, and Amgen's ramp-up of the drug has been underwhelming as the buyers were waiting for more players to enter the market for this drug. About 8 players plan to enter this market in the month of July.
Well, now that we have ended Q1, names such as Avenue Supermarts, V-Mart, Vedanta as well as Hindustan Zinc, they have been releasing their Q1 updates and hence they will be in focus today. While Avenue Supermarts update is largely in line, V-Mart has failed to meet the street estimates and Vedanta and Hindustan Zinc, they have reported sequentially weak updates. Well, Sharad is here and Sharad, take us through all the updates.
Sure. Good morning, Ankita and Lisa. And do remember that most of the updates which is coming Q1, they're very sombre updates. And of course, the consumption names, they have been hit. So now let's just focus on what the important Q1 updates are coming in. And Avenue Supermarts, the standalone revenue, that's almost 18% on a year-on-year basis. But there was a decent addition coming in. Roughly 3 stores were added. And now the total stores coming in is roughly 327 stores. But largely it's in line with the expectations. But on the other hand, V-Mart, they came out with their revenue numbers as well. That's coming in almost 15% year-on-year basis and also a double-digit growth on a sequential basis. But still, it is less than 6 to 7% than what the analysts were expecting. So it's coming below expectations. And of course, company has opened roughly 9 new stores in the first quarter of FY24. Now, speaking of the metal names, we have Vedanta. Sequentially, weak numbers are coming in. But on a year-on-year basis, you see there has been a strong production, especially in alumina segment, cast metal, as well as zinc. But overall, the refined metal production, that has fallen 4% sequentially. And the same thing goes for Hindustan Zinc as well. Of course, the year-on-year basis, the metal production has been the highest. But there are 2 factors which we should be watching out for, apart from, of course, the sequential numbers going weak, is the higher ore production has been there because of largely Rampura, Agucha and Kaya mines. And also there has been improved mined metal grades and better mill recovery as well. But overall, we could say it's coming on the weaker side.
Thank you so much for those details, Sharad, and thank you so much for joining us today. Moving on, then Ravi Dharamshi, who's the CIO of ValueQuest Investment Advisors, shares his views as to where he sees HDFC Bank's growth headed post the merger with HDFC. Now, he also shares his take on where he sees the bank's profits headed. Listen in to what he had to say.
It cannot be anything but positive. Overall, we finally have a company, now more than one company is there, which can be a global leader. So I think over a longer term period, this behemoth will become a must own for most of the large global funds. So, and it is, I mean, I'm very glad this is a group that you can, hold at the highest in terms of corporate governance standard. Absolutely a draw for overall capital into India. And I think that's the beacon of Indian market. I mean, if India is going from $3.5 trillion to $5 trillion economy, a company like HDFC Bank can definitely grow. It is not beyond the realm of possibility to grow at 18%. And I think that is the beauty of Indian market, where the largest company can also grow its top line at between 15 and 18%, and the bottom line has a possibility to grow higher than 20% also.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Market Cafe. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to ET Now.